to get there eventually too, where you are getting blood of Ares at a reasonable rate, every SVS or whatever, and you're eventually going to get to the point where once you've ascended all of the important generals, there's nothing to do with your blood of Ares anymore, and so this gives you a way to keep using that blood of Ares for additional buffs.
Not to mention the fact that you can assign those generals that you're using for attack in those positions as you're doing specialty. Maybe you want to do a big solo, or you're going to do a big rally or something.
Yep.
Go ahead and assign those generals. It's a little bit more work, but you've got them. You don't have to do specific ones for all those pieces. So I disagree that it's not helpful. I actually think it gives us a lot of free-to-play people a really easy way to get a few extra buffs. What you're already trying to get on refines, you just ask for 20% on those, each one of those pieces. This is giving you right that on one level. So
I think it's actually a good change.
I would agree with you for C1 and C2 that are more established, but C5 in particular, the majority of people are still working to ascend their main PvP generals.
Yeah, well, they haven't been around for 6 or 7 years either, so I think they got time to grow. So
temper your expectations. You're not going to get everything handed to you.
Not everybody's 60 billion in the first 3 months. Like there are people out on the C5, so I mean that doesn't really hold much water.
And in C1 that are not 60 billion. So
exactly. So,
but I think in general
you're not competing against them in All Stars and all the other things anyway. Yeah. So I mean, there's no reason to be that.
Council of State is what it is. I mean, it. I don't think that you're going to remove it, so I would say we can probably move to the next topic. Like, I think it's fine.
Tech was the next topic, the new Academy level 40.
The new Academy was great.
New Academy is great. Realize that we all need a better way of getting gold. The Viking gold increased by going to that new hell mode. The gold just really isn't worth it at this point. I think a lot of players aren't getting past probably... I don't know, what would you guys agree with? 37 if you're a K40 at this point without starting to take wounded? Which is fine.
About that.
Taking wounded at 37, that's fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It is something we progress into and start getting better, but the gold return just isn't worth it on those Vikings. So that kind of goes into my statement on the new research. The new research is great. I love it. It helps definitely a lot of those free-to-play players. It helps those that are at that K40 range for getting a better defense, because we have all seen the new Academy, and that debuff capabilities and attack capabilities there are just way too high that this new Academy feature helps everybody.
Yeah, the new Academy feature is fantastic. Hell mode Vikings is another story, but that's not the question. So.
Right.
More gold, obviously, but
we just need more gold is what this is coming out of.
The tech itself is huge bonus for everybody. So I think it's a good move.
Honestly, I think most people would be happy with even more increases, especially more debuff tech in the regular Academy if that was coming. But that was one of the few good things about the K45 update was that new tech in the regular Academy.
Yep. It was good.
There's more debuff in Academy.
More debuff or more more defense capabilities.
Yeah, I mean,
preferably
they're the same, right? They work towards this similar goal of defense.
Right.
Honestly, you look at the details in that tech in the new Academy. It's a lot of base stats. It's not necessarily just defense. So I think you'll see that actually helps for both. So.
Yep.
But definitely increase gold in all bosses. We need gold.
Yeah, there's so many things that use gold these days.
Gold, okay. Always to get more gold.
Yep.
Add it to the bosses. We need more gold.
Okay, how about the research stones and the tactic scroll?
Tactic scrolls need more.
Yeah, tactic scrolls are a problem. Research stones are okay. For those of us who've been around a while, we had a stockpile. Newer servers, we have an issue. There is the Research Academy where at least you can build some. It's not great, but it's something. Maybe also allow us to build tactic scrolls in the Research Academy. It would actually be useful at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Or can you change the Hell mode Vikings to drop tactic scrolls instead of Research stones? If they're going to be that difficult, then tactic scrolls would possibly make it worth doing them on the current difficulty.
Well, I even say
we'll talk about we will talk about Viking later. We have that topic.
Okay, we'll talk about Vikings later.
Right.
So let's
We'll just say the tactic scrolls, those missiles have been around a while. We had a stockpile behind newer servers. We have an issue.
Yeah.
There is the Research Academy where at least you can build some ideal land. Was that something? We also allow us to build tactic scrolls in the Research Academy. It would actually be useful at that
we
point.
have three.
Or can you change
the Fox and the Siren and Hexos? We
say
have
they-
fields for this.
The seals are fantastic.
Seals are
Seals
great.
are
They
fine.
are what they are. Everyone will get to them eventually.
They're grindable.
They
They're
are
grindable. The
grindable.
buffs are good. Yeah,
Yeah.
no issues
The
at all.
grind rate seems right to me
Yeah.
too.
Seems fine.
Take the philosophy with the spiritual beast seals and apply it to the rest of the game.
Yes,
Well, let's not get
that would
crazy.
be amazing.
You're right though. All right, now we're on to talents. The new talents for the dragons.
And you want to talk about that one? Okay.
So cap
the
at
new
100
level
and
cap
cap at 60 for the active skills.
Now,
And-
okay, you can talk about the new level cap for dragon talents.
Personally, I think it's amazing, but at the same time, the reagents needed, the amount of gems required to
Gems are
level that
huge.
many dragons is pretty insane.
Yes.
Well, and dragon source fragments, I mean, there are ways to get them, but it would be nice to get more of those as well with the increased level cap.
And also, I would say one other thing with that is that it's a little difficult to keep up on like the dragon stones and the badges. Even from battlefields and stuff like that. I'm not keeping up with that component of it. Even if I do have the dragon, whatever the orange
Fragments.
ones, the fragments.
Yeah, and that's part of the big problem is that you'll increase the amount of something required for a new thing brought in, but you don't increase the amount of it coming from the various sources at the same time, right? So a small buff to what's coming out of Battlefield would have been appropriate to give with these increased talents. Didn't have to be huge, but something,
Yeah, even a 20% increase in the rewards of those types of things, proportionate to when you're releasing new stuff, would help tremendously.
Okay, noted down.
Yeah, and I did do initially on one of my streams was the amount of gold taken to do some of those. It's between 2 million and 4 million just to get one thing up, and I can't tell you how many people would look at that total and never get there. So I actually think I don't think the reagents on the fragments or I really think it's the gems itself that was just a little bit too high. It scaled pretty high really quickly. So I would look at evening that out to the other two, and I think it might be not so bad if you increase the drop rates and some of those other things, or allowed you to get them free to play a little and grind them.
By the way, anyone have upgraded one dragon talent to max level?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I've got all my active skills at 60.
I hope that helps in all sorts with that lag.
I don't think they have a talent for that one.
Okay, now the
I
next
got one
one.
mine to 100.
Oh.
Yep.
Can we go to the next one? The
Yep,
ideal
the ideal land.
I saw someone said it sucks in the chat. Okay, so you can open fire.
Start with
So that
right?
was me. It's there's no point to it, right? The buffs are tiny and everything is locked behind a paywall. So it's just
It's a different game.
Yeah.
It's not what we're trying to play. There's buffs that you're putting there that are important for PvP that most of us don't care about designing this ideal land, right?
Yeah.
I think the most joy people have gotten out of it is writing out
Well, it's on Zoom.
certain messages to you guys as the development team within their ideal lands. And that's pretty much how most
the developers.
Yeah, I think it's the paywall issue. I mean, I'm a spender, and to be able to get it over 450, I'm not taking the time to spend my money on that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's actually pretty useless.
100% agree.
It's like a small game in the game, but we plan like a not a complete plan to add some new gameplay in the ideal land. But
nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted it.
We don't want the
Okay.
tables. We don't want the gates.
We
and the
don't want
bushes.
gameplay in Ideal Land. We want you to fix the gameplay we already have.
Can I ask a question? Is there any way? Is there any way to ask a question?
Go.
If it's about one of these, yeah.
What is the point
We're
of
talking
any
about
of these
Ideal Land.
upgrades? Yeah, but like any of it, like the last time we played Challenge and we were in the finals on a top team, we couldn't function for 45 minutes.
All right, we're not to the game
We're not
mechanics
to
yet.
All-Stars yet.
Right, but then why answer these questions? This is
Because
what's
they're
important.
asking.
You're
We're trying to
spending
help them.
hundreds of thousands of dollars. Helping them do what, dude?
I'm
Take our
sure
money?
there'll be a Q&A session at the
Yeah,
end.
we'll talk.
You guys
Let's
are
just get through his
fucking
topic, so he'll help us.
Jesus.
Yeah, so this is the first time I'm saying anything. I am a coiner. My ideal land is 750, 800, something like that. And I mean, as a coiner that is level, it is a pointless kind of thing, and it is extremely expensive because it does have higher buff. It can get up. I mean, it increases your march size X amount and buffs this amount, but it's thousands of dollars to do that. And for the average player, they're never going to do that. And even as a coiner, it's kind of pointless for the amount that you get for the cost. It's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
So we want to focus on the war.
There you go, Amelia.
Focus on
the
PvP,
war.
please.
Okay.
Yeah, Ideal Land's not a.
In fact, if you could give us an option to remove puzzles and all this other stuff, that'd be great. Make the
I would
game
pay good money for
half the
that.
size.
All right,
Okay.
there was those 5 topics or 6. Wow.
Now we have another 7 topics.
Perfect.
And now we move to the next part. Is which events are you dissatisfied with and satisfied with? And the first one is Viking. And Hell Viking actually. We added a new hell level in the Viking challenge. So what do you think about this? Like the gold reward is not generals.
So the Hell Vikings, yeah, it's all great and all. You can get more of the fragments for upgrading your Imperial gear and getting those pieces out by doing Hell mode, but it's one of those grinds. It's not really a reward to good payout for majority of players.
The gold isn't worth it.
And the gold's not worth it. The time to do them all for your alliance, because most of us are the bigs in our alliance, and we're spending hours upon hours just trying to help with hard mode Vikings. Now we're going into hell mode, and that's going to take even longer. We lose our marches out. If we're going to be spending this kind of grind, we better get better rewards from it, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, and it's not worth the wounded you take on it for most people either. So
The rewards are not proportional to the increased difficulty. So that's not a proportional increase in rewards to the proportional increase in difficulty.
That's a general feedback, I think, for all the new bosses, is that the rewards are effectively the same as the previous version of the bosses, but they're like 5-10 times more difficult in terms of actually killing them. So it's really not worth it until you can get the wounded down to a reasonable level. I understand we'll get there, but the rewards themselves are not really worth it. The increase just isn't there.
Plus the added stamina on those higher bosses.
Yeah.
It's sucking up the stamina
for
it's
Hydra
not
5.
worth. It makes it so it's not worth the extra rewards aren't worth the extra cost. Not only in the wounded, because that's only one guy in the alliance. It's the stamina for everybody. So it's eating stamina. One poor guy suffered wounded, but the rewards don't seem to be equal to the effort and the extra stamp. So the rewards need to be upped.
I mean, it's a long. I think it's already been said a couple of times, but it is the rewards that need to be increased for Vikings as well as all the new bosses. I mean, I would have no problem taking the wounded for my entire alliance all day. If you had some sort of incentive to do that, which at the end of the day, you're going to create more grind for everyone. You're going to create myself from, doing more things and spending more time. But right now, there's no point in it.
So moving on from that, we have other events that came out, and that was one of the things he asked about. So the new bosses that came out, 18 and 19? Terrible rewards, not even worth doing. Increase those rewards. Viking rewards increase. Event-wise, the Monarch event for Monster Kill Day, why did we sacrifice all the stamina out of that pack? I think almost everybody bought that pack, and majority of the game, I would say 99% of the game, got upset that was reduced. Fix that, return it back to what it was, or give us more stamina than what it previously was.
Yep.
Yeah.
You mean the B18 to B19 and some other new event boss, new level event boss.
Just in general, the rewards are not worth it. The rewards didn't increase.
Typhoons were hardly even worth it beforehand.
So you got to look at what we were doing Vikings for, and that was the gold. And so there's no incentive to do it. Someone also brought up about the reagents for the armor as well. It's a good thing to do, but it's still not worth it. So yeah, you got to increase all those things.
Since the T55 version is just released in like 1 month, we released these monsters for the entire T55 version. So we don't like all players to kill this like the highest level event monsters with no wounds in the first.
That's so I think understand that.
With new buffs, you will get later. You can get no wounds.
But what we're telling you, Quinn, though, is we do those bosses now. I can kill all your 19s all day for say 9K wounded. Well worth it if I got anything above the 16 or 17. But the things you're getting from those...
Did I say K55? I mean K... 45.
Yeah, right.
Quinn, so...
45's next year.
So he's right. We would be willing to take the wounded.
No 55 versions in this in the plan right now. So that's a fake news.
We heard that before. But yeah, no, it's a problem. It's basically just, again, there's no incentive to do it. We have no problem killing those things right now with the buffs we've got, the Monarch levels that we have, all those things, the generals, no problem. There's no incentive for us to do them because they aren't any better than the previous bosses.
Well, I think the perfect example is the Pans and the
Yimmers
and the Yimmers, right? Because those are you do those for two reasons. You do them for resources, and you do them mostly for tact scrolls. The tact scrolls are exactly the same. The Y6s are exactly the same as the Y5s in terms of tactical scrolls. And you get like 200k more resources. The resources are almost not important at that point. It's just the tact scrolls. If we were getting more tact scrolls for it, it would be worth it. But right now, it's effectively the same boss. It's just 10 times harder.
Yes.
So you mean the tactics scroll, right? For military academy. So
well, we're doing them for speeds too. The Pans, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically the increase in reward didn't meet the increase in the power of the boss.
Yeah.
So that goes for all of the bosses that you released. Not just Pans, not just Emirs, not just Vikings. That is
18s,
universal
19s,
for every single boss you release.
Pans, Yimmers,
the reward percentage increase should match the power increase.
Sphinxes, all those things.
You go from 300 to 700 power, the percentage increase should be identified by the rewards evenly. So,
even if you just increase it the same percentage you did from a 3 to a 4, 5 to a 6. I mean, you just need to follow the same increase.
Okay, now the next one is the Great Expedition. What do you think about a Great Expedition?
I can't even remember what the Great Expedition was.
I don't even know
Was
what
that a movie? Is that a movie?
Yeah. That should tell you everything you need to know right there if no one can remember what it was.
That's the one with the 5 like mountain pictures that you have to keep tapping.
Oh God.
It's pointless.
No
it's
idea.
Not spending any money on.
Yeah.
No idea. I mean, you guys.
Honestly, I can't remember that event myself.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that event was that the free-to-play players or people who honestly just didn't want to spend their money on that specific event couldn't play at all, right? Like, it was completely pay to win. There was nothing about it that you didn't even get like 1 free per day or anything like that. It was you get zero turns or 0 whatever unless you bought it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's skip this one. Okay, the next one.
Drop the event.
It was really bad. Let's
Just get rid of the event and never bring it back.
Yeah, save the leg.
I'm sorry.
Remove it from the package.
And the hunting privilege card.
I think it's cool.
Great.
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
I would say the 250 though per day per purchase is a little bit low compared to how many bosses people are running throughout the day.
350, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
350.
350 mil of each. It should
a couple hours you can roll through that. Yeah. It's $10, isn't it? Or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's $10 a day basically.
But it's a great idea. I mean, but again, it's not free to play. Yeah.
Yeah, very much pay to win. Optimize is right. Next question.
Do you have any suggestions for this features in the new privilege card?
I think you wouldn't have to worry about the privilege card
Cut
if
the
you
price
just,
in half.
yeah, cut it to the
half,
$5, and then also if you just increase, like we just got done talking about, the rewards from all those new bosses or even the existing bosses,
$5 for 500.
it wouldn't bother the free to play players.
You want 2 levels for this privilege card?
No,
multiple levels.
Half and increase it to 500 chances. $5, 500 chances.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll at least make it equal to what the Vietnamese are charging for our
I'm talking about the bosses or even existing bosses.
$5 for 500.
Yeah, it just goes along the same thing with other bosses. Players.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, instead of doing that, you could have just increased the boss drops. But I get it.
And increase it to 500 chances.
Somebody's got a lot of feedback on their.
Echo. Casper does. You guys could equal to what the Vietnamese are charging for.
Casper's got a mute.
You have echo in your.
Yeah, that's Casper. If you could mute him, please.
You could mute him.
There we go. Thank you.
Good job, Casper.
Yeah. In the end, I think consensus is cut the price. You'll get more people buying it, and give us a little bit more resources to it. It's a great idea, though. It's moving in the right direction.
That's honestly feedback for everything in this game. You'll get more people spending if you reduce the price on stuff a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, now the next one, the Alliance boss, where the new, like the war boss, some kind of bosses.
Yeah. Alliance boss is fine.
Yeah.
No complaints,
were
nothing
fine.
great about it.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
So that's all. No,
That's it.
suggestions out. It's good.
I think double all the rewards on it, and we'll really love it. No, I'm kidding. It's really good. It's good.
Yeah, it's fine. Next question.
Yep. And that's one, the Alliance Duel.
Alliance Duel was kind of
actually
cool.
kind of fun. Yeah.
It was interesting to
Might be a
log in
stretch.
every couple of days and see how the Alliance did compared to other people. I thought it was kind of a non-active, not sitting in a battlefield for 2 hours to find out how you were doing.
I just got to get 20 people to sign up.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Just got to get people to actually.
It's not good for smaller alliances because it requires 20 people.
Yeah.
You should have a 20-player cap, but not require 20.
I think it's also just like not in general. It does not really take a whole lot of skill. You know, it's just like you kind of throw a march in there and hope that the other alliance has not, you know, directly countered your march.
Yeah. But if anything, it's a good buff sync.
Yeah.
Is there actual strategy to it? I didn't even know.
I don't think there is strategy now.
Hefe, so when you guys, I don't know if you have, but for my alliance, we don't have anyone above the K40 level yet at this point. Coming against somebody with a 7 million troop ground march, nobody beats them anyways, so it doesn't even matter.
Exactly. That's a hell of a strategy. Just spend more. Okay. Next topic.
What do you think about the schedule of the Alliance duel? Do you think the each period is too long? Or?
Yeah, it's pretty boring to sit there and wait for it.
Did you say the length?
Just the in-between time is a little bit too long. Like, honestly, I forgot about it sometimes. Like, hopefully I remember sign up. You know, then you sign up and you wait like a day or two to you know, find out the rewards. You know, when realistically we all know that it's been calculated already, or it could have been calculated already. It's just a waiting period.
Yeah, do like, so some people are saying do daily battles. I think instead of having it a 30-day long event, make it 7 or 14 days, have us fight every other day for the 5 or 7 events, whatever it is.
Okay. The next one is the new feature. What new features would you like to see in Ideal Land? But since you don't like this, so I think we. Okay.
I'd like to see it.
Okay, we move to the next one. We can move to the next one.
Perfect.
And we are optimizing the. I'm gonna sorry. Give me a sec. What do you think about the Battlefield and All Stars and Challenge? We are trying our best to provide a better experience, a network experience for those battlefields.
I have a question. Is there any way, so I get that the lag is terrible because we have, 1,200 people playing in a battlefield at the exact same time. Is there any way to split that time up so that you're in a grouping?
Well,
so when you see one go, see two go,
why isn't every continent a different time slot?
Yeah, like Elite and Junior League do not need to be at the same time as majors.
For sure.
You just help your latency cross through all your servers. I mean, you're
even with that, like more people play Battlefield on a Wednesday or a Saturday than they do in All Stars across all of the Evony servers.
It's not challenge though. It's not challenge style though.
That's fair.
So I think if you just went back to doing 3 different slots for 3 different levels, you'd help yourself out a lot there. Now, I realize you're probably going to get people playing across multiple levels with all their friends, but so what?
Yeah, it makes it more competitive anyways, so.
Yeah.
Is there more time slots?
Adding time slots by reducing Battlefield from 2 hours to 1 hour.
1 hour is enough.
What about just splitting?
Usually one alliance is zeroed within an hour anyway.
Yeah.
An hour.
What about just splitting? What about just splitting tiers, like they said, for All Stars, for Challenge, for any of it? What about pairing different hours for different games? Like the semifinal for the 5 through 8 slot doesn't have to be played at the same time as the 1 through 4. If they don't impact each other. Like they really don't. At that point, Challenge has been split.
Yep.
All Stars
for Challenge does not need to be played at the same time.
Yeah, agreed.
And for the love of God, add a time slot between 8 and 9, please.
Yes, please.
Look, give those on the East Coast US some relief.
Yeah, and 9 a.m. on a Wednesday really sucks.
Well, we can't. I mean, it's never going to be perfect across all levels, but
but there's time slots every other time, right?
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Does.
Also, I would just one small call out. The rewards for Elite League are just not even really worth playing for All Stars and Challenge and stuff. Like, at least if you could provide a little bit of something that you don't get from just getting into Elite League, that would help make it a lot more competitive. There's no reason to heal. There's no reason to play aggressively if you're going to get essentially the same rewards.
In the final.
Yeah, because right now in All Stars Elite League, the only difference between whether you made it to just the general Elite League, the semifinals, or the finals, or even first place is really just the main thing is the All Stars coins, and the difference is not nearly enough to make people actually care about trying.
So the semifinal is actually more competitive than the finals, right? Or just
in Major League typically because of the castle.
Yeah, but they have nothing to fight for on those other levels, is what he's saying for. So you're, unless you're that big guy that decided to sandbag.
JT.
Yeah. We're just channeling our inner Colt there.
Where is Colt? He should
don't say anything too loud. He might show up. Yell at us all.
The new dragons.
So at Shallons, I think there was a guy brought up Shallons earlier about he had a gripe earlier, and we didn't give him a chance to talk. I think you did talk about the lag. So splitting things up, I think, was addressing that.
I mean, you could address it, but ultimately, I don't see how you keep the top best 10 teams in the game who have 40 different coiners that'll spend an entire cake every single event, but the teams just underneath that are ranking 3, 4, 5. How do you keep their players coming back when they spend hundreds of dollars for an event and literally can't play that event? 45 minutes unplayable. By the time it's over or it starts, it's over.
Well, I think that's what he's saying. They want to know how they can improve that. Splitting it up, trying to adjust times a little bit to not have so many people.
Isn't there something on the edge of you guys are making $330 million this year, right? In 2022 your guys' revenue went up $121 million. Isn't there any kind of investment into a better server?
It's called a load balancer. They should definitely look into one.
So they do all that.
I'm not telling you how to
IT executive. I know what I'm talking about.
I mean, there's a number of people who are tech people on this call, but ultimately it is your business that needs to solve that, and it's quite frankly been unacceptable for the last probably 2 years of Challenge and All Stars
or longer.
I mean it's been bad before, but it really got bad the last couple of years, and so we've offered suggestions for how to improve it, but ultimately, that is the biggest single thing that you could do to improve people's experience.
Yep.
One tiny last thing. Can I give you one thing, Heather? You guys reward people after All Stars or Challenge. Sometimes you disproportionately send back rewards. Like, hey, here's your All-Star Dragon. If you had lag and they sent enough mail, kind of based on their VIP. But you have people who've also spent $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 over this lifespan, but maybe aren't coining at that time, who see their teammates get dragons and people across the server get dragons for ranking 150 spaces behind them. It's just disproportionate, and I don't understand why something that's free for you to give them. Like you're securing your customers coming back by giving them that dragon.
Yeah.
I don't understand why something that's free to give them would then be such a difficult process for you guys to do.
I think just not give people things for
customers.
Yeah, please don't give
one or the other. One or the other.
Yeah,
it's unfair.
I think give everybody all the dragons, and then we can.
That's why we had elite and junior league for the All Stars. You can get
No, he understands
coins, right?
I get that
for dragon.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, he totally understands that. He's just saying it's when you're trying to appease your customers out of onesie twosies, and you got a bunch of people that are disenfranchised because they're not getting those same rewards.
Well, even with
what I'm
the
saying is
Elite League
it's
All-Star
afterward.
coins, it takes like a year to get a dragon, doesn't it?
Or at least, yeah.
Yeah.
What I mean specifically is, in the tickets after, let's say All Stars ends, and 50 players from this continent send a ticket in. Out of those 50, 20 may get a dragon, but their ranking, it doesn't make sense. Some of them are ranked 350, and they wind up with, they do get some kind of a dragon out of it. You sent them like 110 coins to make up for the quote unquote problems that they had. But people who've experienced those same problems that ranked even closer to 200, they don't get anything. They don't even get a response.
Sending boobs? It works.
I'm not in that problem. I don't deal with this issue.
All right, should we move on to the next one?
So
Okay, I'll move it.
Well, what was the answer to what they're going to do about this issue with the All-Stars and the lags and the glitches?
You just listened.
But we already improved our servers so you can experience this new season shutdowns and give us your feedback after that.
Quinn, I have a question for you. So, do you have the new servers online now?
New server?
You said you upgraded the servers and they're for challenge. Like, are those currently actively being used? Because, I state this, if they're not in place, it'd be great to see them, but the last 3 battlefields, I think everybody's experienced problems in BOC with still the same problems with the red Wi-Fi signals that we see in Challenge or All-Stars. March is getting stuck. We're seeing that
for minutes.
Minutes. People getting stuck in battlefields. People not able to go in battlefields. All these problems are still here,
going.
and it's not even just in All-Stars. And
it's a regular battlefield. Marches are just stuck for forever. 0-0-0, just stuck.
The running joke right now is that server wars coming. Wait for the servers to crash and have problems.
Yeah, it's been really bad. So if these are your server improvements, you might want to take that feedback back and say try again.
We actually optimized our servers not to increase new servers.
Well, 3 days ago we had Battlefield and we were still having major problems. So
you may want to undo it and go back to the way it was, and it wasn't as bad back then, at least.
Yeah, roll us back like 7 months maybe.
I suspect it's the time. I suspect it's the number of servers they've got, and also the time slot is going to vary based on the number of people participating. I mean, these are all things with capacity issues, and if you can split them up in 3 different time slots or change the time slots differently, so you don't have so many competing for all that bandwidth.
We're not going to solve their tech issues. They have to solve it, but. I mean, there's a million ways that you could solve this. We can give you suggestions, but ultimately, what you're doing so far is not working.
Yeah, the optimization
we've been told every single time after All Stars or Challenge or whatever, anytime we encounter serious lag, that we've optimized this, we fixed this, and quite frankly, we haven't seen any difference.
Now, I will donate my time for free to come help you fix yourself if you want.
We also know that prelims are always the worst thing, right? The next week we get the next match and it's better. Guess what? There's half the people playing. So I mean, it's not hard to figure out that you've got issues with capacity. So what you're doing right now isn't working. So that optimization needs to be looked at again, or another solution needs to get looked at.
I think you're going to see this next All-Star is going to be way different. You're going to see a lot of people who may have tried to compete in it before have given up because they can't afford to keep up with the K45 release, and they know that spending is just going to end up getting them a 0-0 march and a 700 mil rally.
Same thing happened when K40 got released. So this is going to be a cluster. So it'll be even worse now because nobody's finished K40. So anyway, next one. Let's go.
Okay. Now the last one. What PvE or PvP gameplay should be added in the future? I think you like the PvP one, right?
I didn't understand the question.
A sandbox battlefield where we can test marches and buffs.
Yeah, that'd be cool if you can test against players. I did also see Lori posted a video that specific servers got that new event that came out very recently. That looks like an interesting another style match. But with all these matches that we're going to have, that looks like a third type of battlefield between BOG and BOC. They need to be cut down to an hour. Sandboxing with your alliance would be cool if you could do a duel with your alliance members or people on your server where nobody really lost anything out of it. You were able to just duel each other and see who was the better overall.
Okay.
Sandbox.
Okay, there's some place to drill.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like a place for your alliance to practice. Basically,
We can't
you
even
go in
check
and split it up.
Yeah, we can't even check our buffs or debuffs outside of attacking another player. At least give us that.
You can't even do that outside of Battlefield, right?
Right.
Everything's so different.
I see. Now, anyone else?
Just a functional battlefield. That's all we want.
That's really it.
I mean, you had the Huns, but what we're asking for is something similar to that you can queue with, friends on other servers or even just your alliance, just some place where you can go and test the sandbox, I think is what they said.
I don't know if Hans is the right answer, right?
No, it's not, but I mean, they already had something. It's just not quite that, but something similar where you could jump into at a moment's notice an event.
I do think general feedback is, though, there's a lot in this game already. Adding more to the game is only going to make things slower and make things, make that leg worse. So unless you're really committed to fixing that leg first, I would actually not want any of these additional features.
Colt would come back and have everybody do it at the same time, and let's see what we do with the servers.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys aren't gonna, I don't want any new features currently. Most of the people I talk to don't want new features. We want you guys to make the features you already have in place actually attainable, able to be achieved. There's, I mean, when you released K45, you didn't even have 1% of your player base that had completed a full K40, and so make what you already have attainable, make what you already have work before you release all this new stuff. I mean, that's what it boils down to. You're trying to add too much stuff in. It's making your server capacity worse. You're constantly getting all these new players, all these new servers that are reducing your bandwidth and your capacity, but you're not fixing what you already have. So we don't want new features until you fix what's already in place.
That's a good point.
Understood. Now we have another 10 minutes for the FAQ. Q&A like that.
Yeah,
if you have any other questions, maybe.
I think we mentioned the one, but I want to focus on the stamina. I think you can't underestimate how much you've reduced the amount people are playing with how much stamina you have available now. The one pack you had, people used to purchase on a weekly basis for $5, and they would get enough stamina to run for a while, run for 3-4 days, right? The amount of stamina, and then not to mention the fact that it's just not available in the game. You've taken it out of other events. It used to be you could get it in more than just in the pack, and now you've just reduced that to nothing. So I think adding back more stamina is going to encourage people to play more and to get more involved. So I think you want more capacity, you want more things being tested, you want people to play the game. Stamina is one way to do that.
Quinn, can I ask you a question real quick? And it's regarding the stamina problem, and it kind of goes to that hunting pack. Was the purpose of the hunting pack and reduction of the stamina a way to counter the resource sellers that were across the servers?
Yeah, farms. Yeah, and the crackdown on alts, we realize has stopped somewhat.
But maybe talk about that.
Yeah, we should talk about alts and people not having any way to get K40 and all those buildings open.
Yeah, hey guys. I'd like to know how you differentiate between resource sellers and family members.
I'm not sure how they're going to get those things otherwise. I mean, the fact is, the levels of resources.
Right. Hey, this is important. What you said. What is the criterion to meet that?
Yeah, so Quinlan, sorry, Emilio, I was the one who originally asked that.
Yeah,
but basically, you've gone out and punished a lot of players and said that they're purchasing resources, but it could just be people in their alliances helping them. How do you differentiate between what you are accusing people of, and then how do you justify all sorts of different punishments?
The real question is why punish your own alliance to help you? The game is so unattainable. To get to K45 is virtually unattainable. I play with a teammate with one of the biggest guys in the game, and he's only at 44, and he's one of the few, and he's still months away from 45. It's almost unattainable. It's trillions of each.
Well, we don't really feel bad for a K44 right now, but
nobody cares about your
K36.
But how do you get there? But how do you get there? The topic is you can't get there.
Yep.
The amount of resources is just too much.
Oh, but I think Genghis had a good point.
Let him answer
there.
on the alt. Let him answer.
So let me check that.
Did you understand the question?
Go ahead, Quinn.
So Quinlan, just to summarize what we want to know, how do you differentiate between what you're saying people are selling resources, which is costing Evony money, versus people in their alliance helping out other members to grow, and you're punishing them equally, I guess?
Right. And all you're doing is alienating your own player base.
More people have quit from that than almost anything else that has happened.
That and stamina are the two biggest issues, and the lag 3. Those are the 3 biggest.
Do you have any answer, Quinn? Or?
We have check Aries Steelers IP, like their account IP. So if one account gave resource to more than 2 or 3 accounts, this is determined as Steelers. If you only have one, if you have one alt, you can get resource from your own alt, like one alt. Sure. It won't be detected.
Look, that makes some sense. But let me give you a quick scenario. So you've got a bubble dropper that drops all the time before SVS, and you've got different people clearing that keep, and they get resources. How do you differentiate those
only
3
how
people?
We also have the resource amount standard.
Why does that matter?
So if you only bubble drop, I don't think you have lost 50 billion resources.
So,
I don't
Quinn,
think
that doesn't matter.
Let's go with this weekend. I didn't get a notice, but I kind of expected that I would get one because I hit a keep this weekend that dropped their bubble, and I pulled over 3 billion resources out of them, and I wasn't the only one hitting them. So does that make us possibly, because now more than 3 accounts pulled resources, and it was greater than 3 billion resources.
Or is there a threshold
all of
you're
us
looking
now
for?
buying resources?
The point is you can't differentiate those things, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to throw myself
you're trying
under
to
the bus
stop,
here
but
for a second. Yeah, I'm going to throw myself under the bus here for a second, right?
Oh my God,
The
you're going to
only
get banned.
reason, I don't care if I get banned at this point, right?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So I have a ton of alts, right? They don't sell to anyone else. I am the one who goes in and cleans them out. It's the only way I can keep up.
Same IP
because
address.
the amount of same IP address. The amount of resources it takes to upgrade these buildings is impossible for anyone other than a very rich person to get there in any reasonable time period. So I use alts. I don't sell them. I don't give it to anybody else but me. There's no reason that should be punished. I'm buying back on those alts every week for stamina. I'm making you money. And you're turning around and punishing us for it.
I mean, that's
like I said before.
That's the elephant.
Like I said before, if you only have one alt, you can use it to farm.
One is not enough. Learn your own game and how much resources it takes to actually upgrade this thing. One is nothing. Nothing.
Look, I mean, that's the elephant in the room. You're talking about, I'm on S33. You've got one alliance that has 7, 8, 9, 10 alt farms that, they've got 50 members in their alt farms alone that they have to use just to try to keep up with less than 1% of the Evony population that is spending, hundreds of thousands or more to play the game. And we keep adding things for their benefit when we don't fix the things that we have. All you're going to do now with this K45 and the ridiculous amount of resources you need is cut everybody but your 1%ers.
Yeah. I'm going to keep hitting mine. And if they get banned, I'm done.
Everybody's
50 grand on this.
No, everybody's waiting for the next one to drop. There's certainly everybody's at the edge of their seat waiting to be just done.
Everybody is mentally done. We've lost so many players because the alt farms have taken over the server, and if it's not the alt farms, it's you can't do anything to try to keep up with. You go in and you get hit by somebody with a 4,000 buff. I mean, that's ridiculous when you can't have an alt farm. We haven't even talked about botters yet.
Quinlan, if you want to get rid of the resource sellers, if you want to stop the problem at its root, you need to make it cheaper to get the resources from you guys than it is to get it elsewhere. You need to make it easier to get it naturally through the game, whether it's through reasonably priced packages or through more rewards out of bosses and tiles and events, and make it cheaper to get that way than it is to purchase it via third-party transaction.
So I would agree with Evony Jesus here. The monster hunting pack, that's why I kind of asked about the whole reduction of stamina and then us getting the hunting packing card. Was it to counteract these farmers?
Yep.
But most servers at this point are able to make purchases of 1 billion resources at about $3 per billion. Now you're selling us 1.3 billion at $10. Why should we use that piece? Like, I get that you introduce it to kind of reduce the farmers. You reduce the stamina so they don't have as much stamina to keep hitting the Ymirs. We got rid of Ymirs from 2 weeks in a row, so that reduced stamina out. But we keep doing all these things that keep reducing the amount of resources or our way to get resources to counter the farmers, but there's nothing
while only
really
increasing the
incentivized
requirements.
us. And and what Optimizer said, increase the requirements for everything. Make it so unobtainable that we can't do that. We're afraid to buy from the farmers, and we can't afford to buy from you guys.
The only people you're punishing are the people who are actually trying to play your game. You're not punishing the people that you want to punish. All these actions are doing are hurting your player base. They're not hurting these third-party sellers. They're not hurting the people that are breaking the terms of service in one way or another. They are only hurting the people that have loyally been playing your game for 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 years, even since it was Evony all the way back on desktop in 2008. That's all you're doing is hurting people who have been loyal customers, loyal parts of your community. Those are the people that you're hurting. You are not hurting the third-party transaction folks.
Agreed.
We actually, I think most people would probably be happy if you raise the resource requirements for these buildings, but let them continue to play how they were, hitting alts or getting help from people in the alliance. At least they have some hope. And I think it would also be an added source of revenue for Evony, because if people can grow their building, but they still lack the buffs, they might be incentivized to spend some money and get those tactic scrolls and civilization treasures and art treasures, but they're not going to spend money and get that if they can't even enjoy the game and grow their buildings.
I agree. We're buying screw it. Many of us here probably have bought resources from a third party, but the thing is we're still spending $1,500, $2,000 completing that cake by just getting the speed ups to get those 30,000 days to finish.
I honestly don't think we're the majority of the player base, though. I think there are some people that just have multiple accounts, maybe like you said, one or two accounts. They're sending out farms on a daily basis. They're probably not joining. They're probably not botting. There's many people that are doing that, just trying to farm on the side just to get a little bit, right? There are us, this group. Yeah, you guys are all botting. You're all getting resources. Some of you purchase resources. Some of you have done pack loading. Some of you done pink gems when it wasn't legal. All these things have happened, but that is not probably the majority of the people that are using those alts or hitting those other accounts.
I know many free-to-play players that are using alts and getting their resources, and they're afraid to use their one alt that they
How many of
do
you
not
have
bot
taken
with.
pity on your alliance members? Not pity, but helped out your alliance members by saying, "Hey, I've been farming all week. Let me give you some extra resources here because you've done a great job in Battlefield." I mean,
All you did is an alliance with one big person at the top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, you're not hurting the right people. I think that's the point that was making the third party people. They're always going to find a way to make a little bit of money. You can cut into that by increasing your rewards. Leave the amounts you need right now. That's fine. Just don't change anything there. But just allow us to get it easier and don't mess with these alts. It's really not a problem.
Well,
I don't need to go buy from anybody else.
Those are the guys that buy the cakes, are the guys that have the alts and get the resources. That they need the cakes for the buffs and stuff. Like Genghis said, it's 100%.
For sure.
Having the resources without the buffs is no good. You got to have both. So your biggest customers are the ones you're penalizing the most right now.
I don't know that I would agree with that, because I will tell you, I only have experience on the one server. I've been with this now the whole time from 181. We got moved to 33. When you have one alliance that dominates the server with 7, 8, 9, 10 farms that have 50 each, they have all their people, all their alts at every freaking resource place that you go to. It creates such an imbalance for the people, when they come into a situation like that they can't compete. And the only
they aren't
place they have
starting on
now
that
is,
server.
Pardon me?
I mean, they aren't starting on that server. So, I mean, you guys have been dealing that with us for 7 years now. I don't know. We can't fix that.
So why don't we let him respond to any of this?
Because he won't.
Yeah, exactly.
But he'll never take this call.
Third-party sellers, we actually discussed some plans to stop them rather than punishing all players. But it takes time.
Can you share with us what those might be, some of those ideas?
I don't think I can give more information about that now.
When can we expect you to start to implement some of those things so that we can not worry about working extra hard to get bigger and stronger?
And be transparent with your players when you do. Tell us what's going on.
Do you know when you might start?
We will let you know when we confirm and going to implement some one of them. But they are just the idea in this stage. So, but
I think there's got to be a way to directly go after these third-party sellers and not necessarily just in a blanket. To Genghis's point, you're really penalizing people that have got caught up in a net that they weren't really intended to be.
Well, the thing is, right, you have the third-party sellers, you've hit the players that during that last ban wave, you got the players. You took their troops, you took their resources. That's cool, whatever, I guess. But they still got all these resources. The guys that got hit by pink gems, yeah, they all now have 3,000% buffs, but they didn't really lose anything other than troops. Now they're a 5-bill keep that has a couple marches. They'll still dominate anyone who they touch.
They're back to 90 bill by now.
Right. But you never touch the farmers. You touch 0 of the farmers. You only attack the players that are actually spending money, but never touch the farmer. Why would you go ahead and do it that way?
Yeah.
That's true. The third-party people weren't even touched.
No, they weren't.
So go back to the drawing board with your algorithm, because it ain't working. You know?
You should definitely know who the farmers are, because it's the keep that's losing billions of resources. Stop looking at the keep that gained stop looking at the the keeps that gained 1 billion resources, and look at the keeps that gave up the billions of resources.
They did that. They deleted some alts. They did a lot of that stuff already too. But the
players' alts, not any of the farmers' alts.
Players, yeah.
Wow.
You need to be looking at accounts that are not on the same IP rather than accounts that are on the same IP.
There's a lot of ways they could handle it, but
sure.
Quinlan, can you commit to having one of these calls on a monthly basis rather than having 5 or 6 months separating each one of these? Because if you are getting more consistent feedback from your player base, you can make better adjustments as you go with more player input and keep your player base more engaged and happier with your services by keeping them informed of what's going on. Can you guys commit to having more of these calls? I mean, the last one was in February. It's August 1st. It's been months. We had no warning that K45 was coming out. It didn't come on the beta server. We didn't know that any of these alt bans or punishments were coming until they actually happened. We didn't know that you were trying to take action on pink gyms. We didn't know anything. And it would be reassuring to the player base if you would be more engaged with us. Engage us. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're planning, what you're doing, so we can give you feedback. And in doing so, you guys will make so much more money than you already are. And we know you're making a boatload of money. I mean, what was the number earlier? 330 million projected revenue this year. You're making good money. If you want to make that 500 million, 750 million, a billion, listen to your players, host more of these meetings, get more direct feedback, and actually listen to what we have to say. I've never been a part of one of these calls where I felt like you guys have actually listened to anything that we've said. And this is the 5th time I've been on one of these calls over the last 2.5 years or so.
I think that's a good ask. I would also just ask that of the things we talked about today, some of the basic things, I would like to see those implemented, maybe a plan. I think we've seen spreadsheets in the past with when the commitments are going to be, in a month's time and next release, whatever those things are. Give us some sort of plan as to, yes, we've decided now we're going to add stamina packs back in, or we're going to, revert back to the old ones. We're going to, increase the boss drops on these bosses, whatever those things are that you've taken from this meeting, the synopsis and what your action plan going forward, and even a timeline, if you will, I think would just go a long way, not to mention regular updates.
We will give feedback of some topics in this meeting on the Facebook after this meeting. And
Okay, and the issue of having these meetings more frequently, will you have these meetings more frequently? That was the whole point of the question.
Monthly or quarterly?
Yes, we can consider that.
Okay, please include that on the feedback, what your plan is for how often you are going to host these calls.
Yep.
We would like that in the feedback posted to Facebook.
I also have one other request. So I know Elena normally runs these meetings, and it's normally just her, right? She's not a dev, but having you as a dev here to kind of hear more of our side of things, having Elena here would be great. Is there a way that we can get more people from your team here? Maybe a marketing, someone that works in marketing, having a dev, having a customer service representative. So all these people can hear our things versus your quick notes that you jotted down from what we said, that more people can get involved with it.
Yeah, sure. And I can invite Lena next time. Yeah. Yes, he will. I promise you, she will be on the next meeting.
You want to deal with us again?
Yeah.
Can you blame her?
I will.
Nice. We're actually being nice.
Yeah, no, this has been the nicest call we've had so far. But I guess one thing I would ask is, would it help you to get our requests in writing rather than having a free-form discussion like this, once a month, or, really once every 8 months, or whatever it's been, because I feel like we get off topic a lot on these calls. I think these calls are beneficial, but I think having something in writing and having a direct response in the feedback that we were talking about would be more beneficial in terms of actually making changes.
I agree
I'll
with
pass
that.
it to dev teams, dev team. Yeah.
Let me ask the player base though, while I've got you all here. I actually would commit to a monthly meeting with some of you, not all of you, but some of you, if you wanted to go through our own list that we could present to you on a monthly basis, Quinlan, that would maybe help kickstart these meetings. I mean, we can get a small group of the player base that would commit some time to do that. We don't necessarily need the dev team to give our feedback, right? If we want to do it in a succinct way and we want to give them a list, I think, like you said, that's a really good point. Instead of having you capture all this, we can help you with some of those notes.
I'd be happy to do that with you if you do that, or if we can.
I would be available as well.
Yep.
Well, let's increase the time. Is I think we began another extra 20 minutes. So, should we call this meeting end today?
Yeah. We can do that. What is the timeline for getting your response posted to Facebook? What is that timeline? When will it be? When will the update be sent out?
I think it's next week.
Next week? Okay. We will look forward to hearing your notes and getting answers to the open questions by next week. And we certainly hope you will host another call within the next 45 days. So
I just got one more recommendation real quick, and it actually came from my Alliance members. I get that you have all the top players here. I don't know how you calculated who came into this, if it was VIP, biggest spenders, all-star players, whatever it may have been. But also doing micro sessions with your mid-tier players, your K30s through 35s that aren't huge on spending, but they have 500, 600, 700 days of playtime that are very loyal and consistent with you guys. Getting those inputs would also be great.
Okay.
I didn't actually get invited. I stole this invite, so I don't think they actually did what you're saying. But
I mean, it's typically through like the top tier feedback group, which is mostly inactive. Besides this.
So, Optimizer, I got an email in game, a mail in game on Saturday saying that I was invited to it.
I did too, but then I didn't get an invite to this call.
Oh, okay. So I know not everybody in the game got that mail because I went through my server and asked everybody, people that were at higher VIP levels than me that didn't get it.
Yeah, but I got a beta invite that wasn't on my main on a farm. I mean, I don't know how they do that stuff, but
we conducted a list, a player list, and sent emails.
Yeah, where did you get the list?
Yeah. Based on some
from Facebook.
There was said it's random.
Okay.
Thank you for your time for this meeting. So the feedback on Facebook will be released on the next week, and I will pass your suggestion about the next meeting, the frequency to the dev team. And that's all for today.
Hey, Quinlan, where can we expect that feedback? Is it in that Facebook group, or is it what?
In Facebook group or the yes,
the top tier
Facebook group. Yeah, Facebook group.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, I need a message real quick.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Right, thanks so much.
Good job, everybody.
All right, so I'll stick around for a minute, answer a few questions, what you guys thought of it. I do think I do agree with some of your comments that basically said a lot of the opinions in there were basically for large players. I guess that's going to be hard to avoid because that's pretty much who gets invited to it. But in some good ways, it was good that I don't think that it got off topic too much. I don't think that you had people asking questions that were rather obscure and just server oriented to their own server. You used to get that all the time, where there'd be someone who'd go on and they'd start talking about how they have this problem on their server with this player. It's an awful person. Can they do anything about it? That sort of stuff. So at least that sort of stuff was avoided. But what did you guys think of it? Crap as usual. I won't fix anything. Lip service. Yeah, I do think it's lots of lip service. I wonder if what they thought about that whole alt thing. I don't know if they understand how unhappy that has made their player base. Like, that is a major, major thing. I know my alliance, we've gone from having 4 or 5 players who are caking. Hardly anyone spent anything in about like 2 months, whenever that started, 2.5 months. Like, literally no one's spending anything. You should see the subordinate city, where you could see like the rankings, how much people spend. Our server is so low right now. Yeah, Wonder 3 is an issue. So it's not hard to get Viking axes. You just have to join rallies. If you solo Vikings, then you're not going to get axes. But if you rally them, like, that's 1 axe for every person who joins the rally, and then they can set their own. I'm totally against Elena. I'm not a fan of hers. I'm very happy she wasn't there. I will say this. I will say it was a good call based on the topics that were discussed and the voices who spoke. Like, it was kind of a new Evony crowd. It wasn't really people that I heard before. But the outcome of it will probably be a crap call. Like, I don't think they will change anything. I think Evony always has their strategy, and they use these calls even when it seems like they help. Like, I've fallen for this trick before with them, and I don't want to fall for it again. So even when it seems like they're helping, they're really just kind of wondering, where can we get them to spend more? They're unhappy with this event. Okay, but they like that event. Let's monetize it. Bullying must be addressed, like on server bullying. I just don't know what they're willing to do about that, or there's so many different types of bullying. Like, it is a war game, so attacking someone, is that bullying? Or like racial stuff in world chat, yeah, like that sort of stuff should be stopped. But Evony kind of just mutes the person for a day. Yeah, not everyone gets an axe, but like, let's say you join 3 Viking rallies, you're probably going to get 2 axes. You'll get enough to rally them all. But one of the things that was discussed was the new bosses not having a large enough increase in rewards for killing them for the wounded they take. So I know my alliance, like, we kill everything on the map, but it's not worth it at some points. It's really just, we're doing it because it just, they're there. It's more abundance of monsters, more Y6, Y5, but the same rewards for the 2 bosses. It's just that Evony puts out all these bosses that hurt more than the Y5. Fixed servers as in lag. They said that they're using a new server and that it's fixed. I will say that our own battlefields, my alliance, we don't get too much lag. And then All Stars comes and it's like, bam, lag. We play in the morning though. We play time slot 3 and 4 always. So sometimes like slot 9 or 8 are very, very lag heavy because lots of people sign up. Yeah, So one thing, Binu, one thing that I did like that was asked by someone, they said, so was the stamina a crackdown on alts and resource sellers, and you're cracking down on alts? Like you kind of double cracked. Why not just one and see how it turned out? I actually wanted to suggest, but I was debating in my head at the end whether I wanted to suggest. So Evony has these like monthly cards you can buy, these privilege cards, like the one for the Alliance shop. And they got the one that gives you like 5% construction, 5% research, and then there's a higher one. Anyways, what if they just sold like a monthly $1 per account? Like your wife can play, your daughter can play on the same IP, $1 an account, and we'll leave you alone. Like if they did something like that. But I fear that they would charge like $100 something, or they would just, it wouldn't happen. I don't know if I'd get laughed out of the room with that suggestion, if people would even be interested in it. I don't know. But I know that my alliance, like we log in with fear, wondering if we're going to be punished and have everything removed some days. And you shouldn't have a player base that's scared to log into your game. Yeah, Hassan, I agree with him also. Like, I'm at that point. I don't know. It's the game's become like exactly like why log in if you're scared to have your stuff taken? Like, there's people who paid money for those stamina packs, like $5 a week times like 20 accounts. And then one day they logged in and Evony took all the stamina, all the gems, all the resources. So they accepted money from those people and then just took it back. Like that's theft. Just turn down the payments. Decline the payment transactions. So there is a problem with the game in terms of how they're treating the customer base. Yeah, I've seen lots of people muted. I got muted once for 24 hours for something really tiny. Like I just told someone, like, I gave them the middle finger, I think. And they reported me and I got muted. I only noticed because no one was responding to me. And then I looked on an alt and I couldn't see my posts. I was like, oh, wow. And the only thing I posted the day before was someone said something bad about us and I gave them that. So, and like I've seen such worse stuff, like racial stuff, and they don't get banned. They just keep talking. Yeah, thing I do, that's exactly the point I raised was how do you differentiate between a Vietnamese resource seller and a legit teammate who says, you know what, let's all give resources to player X and push him to K41 or K40 because he'll have a bigger rally haul for the Alliance. It'll really help us all. How do you differentiate between that and punish them both? And then I like that other people said, like, you're not even punishing the resource salesman. You're just punishing the players and thinking you're punishing them. Yep, same Megatron. I have saved a lot of money the past 2 months. I've spent, I think, $40 for that last champion because I just know that there's certain things that you fall behind on if you don't get them right away. But other than that, I've added no civ gear, no gems, nothing, no stamina. I've bought nothing. If I'm out of stamina on alts, they just don't run. They go gather. DVS, I use Queen Boudica, yes. She's not the best, but she's the best in the tavern, probably. And, well, for what I want to do anyways. And she is really good. She's better than lots of the money generals. But it's just getting the fragments. It's really hard for some of those. Yeah, Caleb, I would actually like to see how much money they've lost since no one buys the stamina pack anymore. I bet it's a lot. But I think that they are banking on it's a long-term investment and they think people are going to buy resources off of them instead of stamina. Like more people will be getting to like cake 6 or 8 instead of the stamina packs, and they're just wrong on that. People aren't going to do it. It's easier to get $5 off of someone than it is to get $300. Kumar Ranjit, yes, it is, but you'll be a very bad K40, and it'll take a long time. You'll have 1,000 buffs when all the other K40s have 3,000 buff. Brandon, yeah. Obviously, they're not going to answer that. And it'd just be a waste of 30 seconds. They're not going to answer it. I will just say, I know. Games do this. I have no idea if Evony does this. And I do know that there's games that don't do this. Like some games say I know, I'm in some circles talking with games or people who work at games, and there's some games that legitimately do not do this. They're not as big money games as Evony, though. So Evony's a really big money game. So they might not have to do it anymore. Maybe they did it before. Maybe they never did it. I don't know. But there's games that do this. They have someone who sets the bar of spending. Like someone who goes and causes chaos on the server, dominates, and people have to spend to beat them. But there's also just people who are addicted to this game and spend a lot. So they do that for them too. All I could say about Sir Philip is I don't know him well, really, my interactions with him are very limited in All-Stars, or once I randomly ended up on his Huns Invasion team. And anyways, just from the last All-Stars, he didn't even play. He didn't show up to his match. So I guess he's very unhappy with the game or busy with life. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. But whatever it is, he's not playing. Things I do, same people in top 200. I'd bet there's probably about 30 new people a season when it's 200 for wings. This season, where it's top 200 per continent, I bet it might be 50 or 60. But generally, when it's 200 per all of Evony, yeah, you're and it's a 4-week season, you're probably looking at 10 to 20 people. And it's new big whales who just started and need it. How many players in C1 in that chat? I'm not sure. I don't know where everyone is. I think Galhefe's C1, but at the low end of it. I think he's server 160 something. I'm pretty 64 rings a bell. I don't know. I think he's somewhere around there, and that's C1. But it's kind of new C1. That means the server is about 2.5, 3 years old, where most of C1 is generally what people think of when they think of C1 is 6-year-old accounts. So I would say that's it. There was one name in there actually that did not speak that I think may have been from my old server and was a 6-year-old account, and it used to be a very, very elite player, top 5 in Evony, but has not spent maybe nothing in a year and a half. Bog is very underwhelming rewards. It's the hardest thing to do in the game and does not pay off that much. I got it, and I think I get maybe 20% HP on defense. Nothing compares to what a dragon gets you, and 4 refines that go up to 30% or 25%. Yeah, there should be civ fragments, even if it's like two a day, on like B 16 to 19 or 17, 18, 19 or whatever. 2 fragments a day max. Like, what are the odds that, especially if they made it like specific fragments rather than the random one that you can rotate to different, pick and choose which ones it goes to. It would take people so long to get gear, but they'd at least have hope. Maybe you could even go like the high end ones, they're specific, and the low end ones you can choose. But like, it gives people hope, at least a reason to log in and join rallies. Yeah, Caleb, I think that could have been something that was talked about. Evony has said in past calls the reason that actually I had one with them. It was a one-on-one with a developer that they asked me to take down because they gave away too much information. It was about 10 months ago. Anyways, one of the things they did say in there was they released different packs on different servers on purpose, and they test them out to see what sells well. And then if it does really well, it goes to all servers. They also, in that developer call with me a year ago, they discussed spawn rates and how they lower them to test and see if people will buy packs on days where there's low spawn rates. Which I kind of assumed anyways. I actually specifically asked them that. If they turned down spawn rate, they said yes. And then I asked if it was related to purchasing. Yeah, but what you're talking about, what test servers would be for, would be like, for instance, like debuff skill books. You would use a test server to see how much that impacts the game. Give it to a few players, not everybody on the test server. But what they do is they test the sale of the package on a new server, and then they let them keep the debuffs forever, and we have to play against them in SVS and Battlefield. There was no mention about that, but I did find it curious that just out of nowhere, he did ask, have any of you maxed your dragon talents? People said yes, and then he said, okay, next question. So they were interested in this. So I would not be surprised at all if there was something new coming with dragons, or what I would actually think they would have instead of a higher level would be some way to pay money and ascend your dragon. Or maybe your dragon gets gear. Maybe he gets like a little seat. You can sit on him and it looks like you're riding him. Or he gets a helmet. Yeah, so Caleb, actually, there's a big push, and there's lots of rumors that beta server players' accounts are going to go live and get ported over to new servers, or maybe just their server would become a live server together. They all have very big castles, but they don't have the buffs. And I don't know, but I guess they just want to play. Yeah, Caleb. So there's 2 test servers. One is a smaller beta server, and the other is what you're talking about, 280 bill accounts. I'm not sure if it's both of them or one of them. I just know that I've heard from beta players that they've been told that they might be able to move live, but they'll never be able to go back and get the free stuff again. So I don't know. All right. Anything else you guys thought about the call. I'll probably do a video on it maybe tomorrow or the next day and summarize my thoughts on it. I'll have to go back and kind of remember some of the stuff that was discussed, but I think it's safe to say that we can all assume that there won't be many changes. They tend to give us like very small, they throw us something not important, like Vikings. Maybe they'll add just a little bit more gold. I don't get why want such a gap. So, Magic. I have a lot of thoughts on this topic actually before I go. I think I think they want the gap because big players want the gap. Let's just say that. And then you're going to get big players who will say, I don't want that. I want a fair fight. I want to be challenged. Like, majority of the people who spend money want to kick some ass and laugh about it and dominate. And they want their alliance to send a rally that zeroes an 18 billion player in one hit. That's what they pay money for. So I think when you have this gap, they want that. Like, they're people their big customers want this. Most of them. That's my opinion. And then another part of it is also, I think Evony thinks that players don't want this, like the small ones, so they might pay to close that gap. Like, I would say this, like 3 years ago, the game did need a change, but they went too far because you could be 4 billion, crap 4 billion, really bad 4 billion player, but no one could do anything to you. You could go sleep on enemy server and it would take them like 12 rallies and it would just destroy their own cities to try and kill you. So I don't know. Anyways, that's it. But have a good night, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll put a summary video